My name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Going to jail. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Harvey Weinstein at New York's Rikers Island after his conviction earlier today on rape and sexual assault charges.
Weinstein will learn his punishment March 11th. Today, people are hailing the power of the Me Too movement for Weinstein's verdict. Deborah Katz represents one of the accusers who testified, saying Weinstein used his celebrity to hurt people.
By his sexual, predatory, rapist, violent behavior. And today, there could be no other discussion other than Harvey Weinstein is exactly where he should be.
One of Weinstein's attorneys, Donna Rotuno, says by no means is this over.
An appeal will be filed as soon as possible.
The jury did not convict on 2 counts of predatory sexual assault that carried life sentences.
Fox's Gernal Scott in New York City. Weinstein still faces similar charges in California. Worries over the spread of the coronavirus sending stocks down sharply. The Dow sank more than 1,000 points. The Nasdaq fell 355. The S&P off 11. New concerns in Europe over the virus with a sharp increase of cases in Italy.
Europeans had been concerned about the coronavirus, yet felt relatively far from trouble till now, when the number of cases in Italy began to snowball from a handful to well into the 200s Monday. Authorities are still trying to figure out the source of the latest outbreak as they caution against panic, but urge caution. Tens of thousands of Italians in the north around Milan and Venice are under lockdown. Schools, churches, and theaters are closed, with many people being told to stay at home.
Fox's Amy Kellogg in Milan. A memorial service today at the Staples Center in Los Angeles for former Lakers star Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, who were killed in a helicopter crash last month in California.
I miss you, all of you, every day. I love you.
Bryant's wife, Vanessa. America is listening to Fox News.
Successful companies know that in order to
your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Astronauts to the moon.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Not to get off track here, but I feel like we're in the Truman Show and we're in a snow globe and we just shook it up.
Welcome to reality.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made
up to outer space, or maybe meeting other beings from another place? Have you ever wondered what it's like on other planets? Then you watch a science show and come to believe you understand it. You feel empowered by the knowledge and you feel enlightened, listening to Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. But then you wake up and you start to see the obvious. Life is just a lie and this whole world ain't what we thought it was. NASA's missions to the moon were never completed. They just filmed them in a room and people believe it. I used to wonder what it's like to be an astronaut. Now when I see them acting, I can't help but to laugh a lot. They give us cartoons and they claim that we live on a ball, but it's flat and it's not moving or spinning at all. Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your protection from deception right here at Truth Frequency Radio. And you're about to have space totally removed from your mind as you are tuned into the current, reigning, undisputed, and unarguably the #1 show on Truth Frequency Radio on Monday nights from 6 to 8 Pacific. That's 9 to 11 Eastern. That show is Jeranism Monday Night Raw, and it starts right now. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeranism, and we are live all across the plane, all over this realm, from YouTube on the Jeranism Raw YouTube channel to TFRlive.com and even dlive.tv/Jeranism. So welcome one, welcome all. My normal co-host, Dave Weiss from Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, DITRH, is off on vacation this week. Hope he is enjoying the sun and the flat seas. And so I have a guest co-host. Love having him on, love hearing his voice, and thank him extensively for stepping in from the Secrets of Saturn podcast and YouTube channel, and better known for his work with Crow on Crow 777 Radio. He is Jason Lingren. Jason, how are you, my friend?
I'm awesome, dude. Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
It's always good to have you. So welcome one. Like I said, welcome all. Should be a fun show as we're going to remove space from the heads of people, which is a tough thing to do with all the social conditioning and everything we had to endure. Let's start out with a few other topics, though, just to get going, and then we will be taking phone calls as we normally do during the second hour. So if people want to get in line now, you can do that, 213-233-3998. Did want to mention for David's sake, Dave did some updates on the Flat Earth app. I do not believe that the updates are live on the iOS yet, at least not on my phone. So I do think they are out on Android. And yeah, it's a pretty good update. We did do a video about it. That'll be out this week. As soon as the iOS update hits, then we will release the videos on David's channel and my channel. And a couple people were upset already that there is some little function now where a little pop-up box pops up and asks you to subscribe for 99 cents a month, or I think it's like $10.99 a year or something like that. And this just helps David pay for the app. And the good thing is, in the settings, if you have Android and you haven't seen this yet, in the settings at the very bottom, there is a button to turn off that notification. It's just to help him out, to support what you like, or it goes away. So Dave's been doing this all on his own money. Starting to cost him a little bit with every little update that he does. And so support him, help him out. And if you don't want to, go to the settings, turn it off. It's really that easy. Thank you to Rhino for a super chat already. He says, walking the gauntlet with family lately. It's a tough one. Maybe we can talk to Jason about how he does that. Good to be with like-minded folks on a Monday. Yeah, I agree. That's why I like doing the Friday Lounge. That's why I enjoy doing Glowbusters. That's why I enjoy the Thursday interviews. That's why I enjoy this show right here and having Jason on, because being with like-minded people is awesome. What say you, Jason?
Man, I can't. Yeah. Wow, that was a word I just heard.
No, there's just a lot of people out there that are too stuck in the matrix, if you want to call it that. They're too blinded. I know it. I've got some close personal friends, some family like that as well. Some family is kind of waking up to it, but not all of them. Some friends are waking up to it, not all of them. And as I've said from day one, I think you just have to give it time. More than anything, I always bring up my 9/11 story because it's just real easy to recall that. Yeah, I had a friend tell me 9/11, inside job, blah, 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 blah. Told him, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to hear that. And it wasn't until years later that I looked into it for myself. So that's all I can say is really plant the seeds. And if people aren't ready for it, they're not ready. And you just have to kind of wait. But again, down the road, when they keep seeing this space thing pushed out, when they keep seeing the moon landing pushed out, when it will be 2024 today, but it'll be 2028 eventually, and then 2030s, and then it'll be 2040s, we're going to Mars, and then 2060s. Eventually, people will start asking questions. At least I hope. Maybe not. I don't know. It's scary. So I wanted to, mention the app. That's good that we got that taken care of. And again, hope Dave's having a good time over there. The other topic that we do need to just real quick bring up is the demise of Mad Mike Hughes. Obviously, that's in the news. I'm sure everybody has heard that, knows that happened at this point. I am seeing some people out there still thinking that it could be fake, and that's okay. I'm okay with people who have their own opinions on things. Hey, call me crazy. I'm somebody who still, I think Kobe Bryant died. You know, if you want to call me diet woke, you want something, I mean, I don't know. You can call me whatever you want. But the great thing, and I love Jason for this fact, is that we can have different opinions on things. It's okay for me to watch other channels out there that call certain things fake or call certain things hoaxes, and I may not agree. Again, I may not agree today. Doesn't mean I won't agree with you tomorrow. Doesn't mean something won't come across my face or across my desk that makes me say, oh, now I get it. For now, it seems very likely that Mike Hughes died because he kept wanting to do these rocket launches. And I don't think any flat earther could have talked him out of it. I've seen some comments on different channels and different videos saying, oh, you flat earthers are responsible for this because you didn't stop him from doing this. Guys, the man was a daredevil. He was a daredevil. Jason, what did you think about the story when you heard it?
Yeah, well, I always thought that guy was a little off to begin with. So,
you think?
Yeah, and man, he was never, I mean, not to be rude, but he was never doing anything to contribute to the flat earth notion. Like, what was he doing to contribute data? Like, nothing about shooting a rocket up, a steam-powered rocket especially, is going to deliver you anything. You can see more from going on a conventional jet plane trip from, one coast to the other. You're 20, 30, maybe even 40,000 feet up. What are you going to get with those kinds of rockets? Nothing. I guess it was just his thing. He just liked doing that kind of thing and was, from what I can see, just using the flat earth notion as a means of getting attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no other way you can really look at that. I mean, he even admitted it. His publicist or his, I don't know what you want to call it, his guest, had the same notion, who just said, no, he didn't even believe this. We did it as a PR stunt. He may have had that belief. He may have thought that the earth was flat, but he certainly wanted to get to space and thought that this was the best way to kind of ride, the flat earth's a hot topic in the mainstream. So he wanted to ride that up, and his ultimate goal was to take some sort of Sataloon, or rocket tune, whatever you want to call it, some sort of balloon that would then get up there. I don't know what you would call that. But anyway, get up there and then shoot a rocket from the balloon and get up to the Kármán line or something. And, of course, he kept trying. I don't know what the point of these, like you said. He really could have gotten to the top of a tall building and basically saw what he saw from his rocket launch. So
yeah, the Kármán line is 60. I mean, they kind of have a little iffy, but it's like 60-ish miles up. Right. You're not doing that in a steam-powered rocket. You're not doing that anywhere.
No, and I don't even think it would ever happen. His goal was eventually to go in a balloon, but how high is a balloon going to take you? 120,000 feet? And then from there, you're going to launch a rocket, and you think with you in it, you're going to get to the Kármán line? I don't think so. I just don't think that it's going to happen. But again, this is somebody who liked doing what he did. And, look at Evel Knievel. I mean, this is the outcome of somebody who keeps doing that. And I think these guys know that that's their eventual demise. I'm sure he knew that this is, you only can, do this so many times until something goes wrong. And it looked like something went catastrophically wrong. Obviously, he took off and the parachute flew out right from the beginning. Now, I've seen some reports that say that it got caught on the launching apparatus. Could make sense. I don't know why it wouldn't be tucked inside the rocket from the outset. But I understand a lot of people look at things like this and think, oh, this is just to make flat earthers look bad. And in part, it will, because a lot of news will just run with this. And that's why I think that ultimately, I was talking about it on Globebusters yesterday, that this is their plan. They kind of knew, I think, eventually this would happen. And so they keep filming it and talking about it. And he's going to launch another rocket because it's hilarious that this guy's launching 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet. But I look at him as also a brave guy, obviously much more brave than myself. I certainly am not going to do that. So I look up to him for that. Like you said, did he have a couple screws loose? Maybe. But he was a good guy. I met him. Was he a great guy? I don't know. He did some questionable things as far as, and I believe my name might be included, but he took a couple flat earthers and put some sort of copyright on their names or something. I don't know. Was trying to claim their names, corporate fiction, that whole thing. Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer. trying to file under their name. Those things are a little bit weird. But I have talked to him. We texted back and forth before. He was on a show that I did a while back where I interviewed him a little bit. He seemed like a good guy. I met him in Denver and seemed like a good guy. Talked to him, said this is what he enjoyed doing. This is what he wanted to do. He was building his own rocket, and it ultimately led to his demise. So do I think it happened? Yes. Do I think Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash? Yeah. That's just me. Some people, like I said, call me whatever you want. The good thing is we should be able to have differing opinions. With Kobe, I've said it before, the guy took a helicopter to every home game. And so he flew in helicopters all the time. So is it surprising to me that somebody like that might die in a helicopter crash? Nope, not really surprising at all. That flat fellow said, keep up the great work, Jeran, planting seeds. Thank you very much. Zayla Raiden said, people complain about a suggestion, 99 cents, but make no noise about use of taxes. Right. They don't care about the money that we're all sending to NASA, now up to about $60 million a day, which is just unfathomable, really, for what we're getting. And we'll get into that when we talk about space, because it is insanity that with all the money going to these space agencies and them sending these probes and everything else, that they can't just put decent camera systems on them. I mean, you'd think that would be their main intent. So they don't want to do it. Thank you very much, Paige, for the thumbs up. Oh, no, what do we have here? I don't know. Oh, dropping the mic. Oh, great. Thank you, Paige, for that. And then Free Flow sent $2 as well. Thank you guys very much for that. So that's my bit on, Mad Mike Hughes. May he rest in peace. And condolences to his family. He was a good guy. He liked doing this. That's all I can say. Evel Knievel had the same fate. These guys just, it's like they keep pushing themselves to get that joy. I don't know. I look at it as, sadly, like kind of drug addicts. If you look at a drug addict, a person who might overdose or something, it's like they always try and get that next better high. And that's a problem when you do that. If you keep going, it's just like people who have gambling problems. People who have gambling problems usually don't have a problem because they go and play $5 blackjack hands. The problem with people who go too far is that all of a sudden that's not enough of a thrill for them anymore, and they keep going, and then all of a sudden it's $20 bets, and then it's $50 bets, and then it's $100, and then it's $1,000, and they get themselves in such a hole, and they think the only way out is to keep doing bigger bets, and then you have a terrible gambling problem, and you might lose your family or lose your house or lose your job because this is what has engulfed you. And I look at it the same way with these kind of thrill seekers. Sometimes, did you hear the story a while back where the guy that was like doing parkour, climbing buildings, he fell? Do you remember that? I don't know if you know, there's this basically a YouTuber who was climbing buildings, and I don't know if it was Japan or China or something. And he would jump from like building to building and grab onto it and climb up. It was crazy. It's like insane. But eventually he was hanging from a ledge and couldn't get his grip and slipped and fell, 1,500 feet or something to his death. So, wow, happens. But anyway, condolences. I'm not somebody who thinks it's fake. I'm somebody who, thinks it was a real event and thinks that it's just sad that Flat Earth will be tied to it. I think it was a PR stunt. Like you said, Jason, he hasn't done anything for Flat Earth. He puts it in the news, but in a silly way. The documentary that was done on him was kind of done in a silly way. Every episode that he was on Tosh.0 was done in a silly kind of, in jest kind of way. So I don't think he did a lot for it. And, they're going to be plugging this. You're going to see it in the news all over the place, like I've seen today. Flat Earther falls to his death. Idiot Flat Earther falls to his death. I mean, and then the comments by some globe earthers on these channels is just sad. They're saying things like, Flat Earth is responsible for this. If he didn't believe in the Flat Earth, this wouldn't happen. That's insane. That's insane to think that. He certainly wasn't trying to get up to 5,000 feet to see if the Earth was flat. I think it was all just storyline. So, anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
All right. a couple more super chats. Thank you so much. R2D2 says, go check God Gilvaste channel and tell me what you think about his theory. The moon being a reflection of a gigantic Earth and our realm just a crater. You heard that one before, Jason?
No.
Yeah, I've heard people say that. I don't know that I'll have to check out the channel. Thank you very much for that info. I've also heard people say that like the shadows on the moon are a map of the Earth in inverse and that it's a reflection of the Earth. Yeah, I tried to look at at least if you believe the continents are laid out the way that we're told, certainly it doesn't seem to match the moon. Right. But I have heard people say that, but I haven't heard the moon being a reflection of a gigantic Earth and our realm just one of the craters. That hey, that's different than I've heard. So I will check that out. The channel is God and GEVLAMSTE. So I'll check that out. Commercial Sound and Video says, well, Mad Mike did demonstrate perfectly an actual rocket launch, be it on a smaller scale. It went up, arched over, and hit the Earth.
There you have it.
Yeah, if he would have done it from the Space Coast, he would have ended up in the water, possibly even surviving. Who knows? I don't know. Well, he didn't get up high enough. I don't know. We'll have to see. But anyway, thanks so much for the super chats, guys. I do appreciate it. All right, so Jason and I are going to talk a little bit about space. And, the whole idea, I kind of named this episode as I did because I think that this is what they've been doing for a long time, filling your head with space. So, Jason, let's talk about that a little bit. And then, like I said, we're going to take your calls, 213-233-3998. And then, just to mention, this is episode number 199. And next week should be a fun episode number 200. So please join us for that. I think Jason will be joining me. Possibly Bob from Globebusters said he wants to step in as well. And there'll be some messages for some people, and we'll take calls the whole time and kind of have a fun little celebratory 200th episode. So look forward to that. That'll be next week right here, wherever you're watching this now. It will be here as well next week. So looking forward to that. So, Jason, let's talk a little bit about space fakery, because it is prevalent. It is everywhere. And I think this has been done intentionally. Or I guess we could start out, really, if you want, with the story that you sent me, because I think this just is, more of them putting space in people's mind. I guess I could bring it up for people to see, but, tell us a little bit about what you sent me. What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, this reminds me of one that was sent to Crow and myself just the other day. It's very similar, a little black object that looked surprisingly like this that was filmed outside of an airline a cockpit, a jetliner. A pilot had filmed it with his iPhone or whatever. And I'm like, that looks, well, you could kind of see like a weird shimmer around it. And I was like, that just looks like it was added in, a post effect,
Right.
And this one kind of had a similar look to it, the way it was traveling. I mean, if all these things they're showing us are blue screen, gray screen work to begin with, I mean, it's not that. I mean, being a filmmaker, being somebody who has learned about a lot of this stuff, it's so easy just to add in another layer. It's nothing.
I totally agree. Yeah, it would be nothing. It'd be so easy to fake, and that's, and anytime you get the UFO community talking and you get videos like this is on the ET Databases channel from February 21st. But anytime you get people discussing things like this, it just reminds them of space, and it tells them that there is an ISS and that people can film things from there. For me, it'd be so easy to fake this. It's ridiculous. It looks a little bit to me like an SR-71. I've tried looking at some comments real quick, but you just sent it to me right before the show. But some people saying that they think it's a satellite. Other people saying that they think it's space debris. And then,
it's not a satellite. Can't be a satellite.
No. And then
even by the mainstream notion, if you watch the way that object is moving, that is not how a satellite would respond.
No, I don't think so either. And I am showing it just so people can see it. If hopefully everybody watching can see. Yeah, we're talking about this little thing here, and he kind of plays it a little faster and slower. And as it gets away, you can see it's kind of almost tracking with the ISS. And then as we go further along, it kind of almost looks like an SR-71 Blackbird a little bit, but not much. It looks more like cone-shaped. And
it's Squatter. I thought the same thing. It was the first thing popped to my head.
Yeah. And then you can see here, I'll play it from here, that eventually it kind of, I don't know, of course the UFO community says that it's zooming. Here you go. And it's got some sort of blast of green flash here in a second there. So, of course, ET Database, this channel, I forgot the guy's name, Scott something, of course says that it's a ET. But again, anytime you hear these guys talk about, and I bet NASA loves this, I'm sure NASA loves this. They love people talking about it because people get the notion of the ISS. It's up there. It's in orbit. There's other things in orbit. Could it be a satellite in orbit? Could it be an ET? Could it be extraterrestrials? Because all it does is reconfirm the globe. Really. So I think
reconfirm space as being a reality. That's what it does. Right. By the way, look at that horizon line.
Right. Good point.
That was the first thing that popped to my head right after I looked at the object. I was like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah,
they're supposed to be how far up?
250 miles, of course. And
At that point, if there's a curve, then you will see it.
Yes, I would think so. Yeah. Even
to my understanding, yes.
The graph says you got to be what? He says at 120,000 feet you wouldn't see it. Of course, this is much higher than that. This would be 1.3 million feet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the reference for that is, of course, that's what weather balloons can go up to. I think the highest they can get before they pop is about 121,000 feet if they're the best quality. By the way, the same funny little shimmer, if right now, as you look at the object, it's kind of got almost that pasted in look similar to the other clip, which if I can find for you, I'll kick that over to you so you can show that to people too. But it's kind of got that similar look to it. And it's taking on a different, right here where the thing is flying away or whatever it's supposed to be doing.
Right.
It's, man, it's just, it doesn't look right. I mean,
no, it doesn't look right to me.
The hell is a Star Trek? I mean, come on.
Yeah. All right. So let's, that'll be in the show notes for everyone. But one thing I wanted to start out with, because I do think this is an interesting thing. Jason, tell me about you growing up. You were a space fan, correct?
Oh, big time. When I was a real young kid, before my eyesight went kaplooey, my dream actually was to be an astronaut. And my mother had, I don't remember which brand they were, but giant encyclopedias. We had we had a whole bookshelf full of these in our main room, and a whole section of them, I can't even remember how many there were from the 60s and about the mid 70s. All NASA stuff, tons of pictures, just gorgeous books, and I would just pour through them. So I was quite familiar with everything, seeing the pictures of the astronauts and all the usual stuff. As I got older, this is when, now I'm 46 years old, so when I was in middle school, this is when Voyager was sending back a lot of pictures. So our school not only talked about the space shuttle a lot, but they also showed a lot of pictures from Voyager and all that, and I actually got a whole bunch of them from NASA that they had sent over, and I asked if I could have them. I put them all over my wall. So I was obsessed with all this stuff. Okay. And I always had a good understanding of general astrophysics, and not the high-end math, but just science in general. I have a good science background. I was interested in it. I followed it. So the simple answer is yes, I was always into space.
And as well as that, I'm sure Star Wars, Star Trek, fans of that?
Yeah, big time. Again, being the age group I am, I was 4 years old seeing Star Wars before it was called anything other than just Star Wars. Right. And I still have the memories of seeing it for the first time in a theater, a real theater that was converted into a movie theater in Exeter, Pennsylvania. And we were up in the balcony, and I have very solid memories of leaning on the brass rail, staring at seeing Darth Vader for the first time. Like when you see this as a kid, and the Star Destroyer comes out over the Tatooine and all that stuff, I mean, that left one hell of an impression. And of course, immediately we started getting into the toys and all that stuff. So that was it. I was done.
And what I wanted to bring that up, and what I think is so interesting, is I have a completely different upbringing, and that's why I think it's interesting that this realization of space fakery really comes from all areas. So you have Jason's point of view versus my point of view was growing up, I saw all that space stuff as just futuristic. Wasn't interesting to me. I thought that a lot of it looked like nonsense, and that, this is something that's going to be, thousands of years ahead. This is something that, it just didn't interest me. I wasn't interested. Never watched Star Wars, never watched Star Trek, wasn't interested in that stuff. And now I see it not as futuristic, but as fantasy. And so that's the kind of the change that I made, whereas, you might have a different feeling. But for me, I just saw it as filmmaking. I saw it as, this is just, and now I really see it as implanting this idea, this whole social construct of this belief in space and how much money went to it. And, we can start with really when you look back in time and you say, okay, let's look at what JFK did. JFK announcing that man would be on the moon, that they were going to send man to the moon and return him safely to Earth, was before, right, that they had ever put a man in orbit, which is insanity to really think about. To think about a president going in front of the nation, not just a few people, not in his cabinet, not just in closed-door sessions, but in front of the world, and saying that we are going to put man on the moon, we're going to return him, when the country had never even sent a man into orbit, is insane. It's insane that you would make that kind of proclamation. But the deal with it is, as soon as he made that proclamation, boy, did they go full board on putting this into schools, to putting this into popular media, to talking about it constantly. And then it became this, you've seen all these videos that came out in the 60s. Got a break coming up. We'll come back, talk more about space fakery, and then take your calls after that. We'll be right back. You're listening to Jeran Monday Night Raw with Jeran and Jason Lincoln.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
For millennia, mankind has been searching for answers to the big questions, such as, where did the universe come from? Where did we come from? Why are we here? Are we alone? And just what the heck is the Sasquatch all about? I can't promise you answers, and neither can the Woo Crew, but they invite you to join them Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, midnight in the UK, for Freaky Friday, exclusively on Truth Frequency Radio. Spirituality, multiverse, quantum mechanics, the occult, and so much conspiracy analysis that it will make your mind melt. Take my word for it. Freaky Friday. It's more than a show. It's a way of life. I am Stephen Hawking, and I am proud to be a Wookiee.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Frequency Radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to Jeran Monday Night Raw. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm here with Jason Lindgren. We're talking space fakery this afternoon, this evening, and then we'll be taking your calls. So if you want to get in line to get your call in, talk about some space fakery ideas. If you remember being a child and being engulfed in all this nonsense as well, how you came out of it, or if you're like me, maybe you didn't like it from the very beginning, and now you see why it was all placed there. Give us a call, 213-233. 213-233-3998. We have Conflect is sent a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, watch the new show on Netflix called Our Planet and witness the brainwashing. I'm so worried for my kids. Yeah. And Jason, you're a dad too, right?
Yes, I have a 16-year-old daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got a 19-year-old son. And at least, I mean, he knows my opinion. I don't try and force it on him. And I think he's in line with it, really, because he just sees it, you know, plain as day now. And I think some of these children that are growing up are going to see it even more because they're able to, they weren't engulfed in the whole hysteria of the moon landing like a lot of the boomers were, the baby boomers, who I think were a part of it on purpose. I've talked about it before. You have 400,000 people across the country that are involved in some way in the launching of the Saturn V and the supposed moon landing. And by doing that and having some 20,000 companies, which just doesn't make any sense, folks. If you really think about it, you wouldn't have it, you know, divvied out to where there's 20,000 companies out there making some little part. But by doing that, you have everybody in the country who knows somebody who is involved, and it just makes them all part of it. And it became part of this nationalistic pride. Look, we beat the Russians. Look what we did. And that part makes no sense to me either. If you think about Russia and the fact that they put all this effort and money into the space race, and for the 10 years we're also trying to go, and then when the United States went, they just all dropped it and said, we're going home. We don't want to go to the moon. Doesn't make any sense.
No, it absolutely does not. By the way, the whole 20,000 companies thing, how could you
keep that?
Yeah, it's like it almost sounds stupid saying it. Like trying to keep track of all this crap and making sure consistency would be the big thing to make sure that your part of what you're working on goes to this thing over here. I forget what exactly the number was. It was some obscenely huge number, but the Saturn V rocket, which obviously was built, was the most complicated device ever constructed with the most amount of moving parts and all that kind of thing. How?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Really, when you think about it, you would have kept it very tight-knit. You would have think that you need to make sure every piece goes with every other piece. And again, sure, they do things like that now, but certainly not to that extent, not spread across 20,000 companies. And it just doesn't really make sense unless you look at it from a social engineering aspect to where it really becomes a part of nationalistic pride. It really makes people feel very proud of their country. And this is why I think I had a hard time convincing these baby boomers that we didn't go to the moon. And then, of course, you always get the people who say, well, I know it's true. Why? Because I saw it on TV.
I think that most things, once you are capable of taking a very decent-sized step back and looking, I think way more than most folks realize is social engineering.
I would hope so. And that's the one thing, a lot of my friends that may not be on board 100% with the Earth being flat, and that I understand. That's a big step. But I don't know any of my friends that think we went to the moon. And so...
Good. At least that's something.
Yeah, it's something. It's a start, right? And they'll say that. And that's the first step for a lot of people. And that's why it may take a little while. But once you hit that step, then you kind of, you can call it the staircase of disbelief. But really, it's just... you have to look at that and understand that if they did fake that, then all of a sudden it opens all these doors to, wait a second, so you can fake something that's quite large. I mean, that, no matter how you look at it, that's the biggest feat humanity has ever accomplished. And not by a small margin. By a huge, huge leaps and bounds to say that we've sent men 248,000 miles away, landed them on some rock that's spinning out in space. They got out with their little lunar lander. They were able to walk around. They were even able to unfold a foldable buggy, drive around a little bit, play some golf, take some rock samples, get back in with no worries. These guys were on the moon just having a great old time. They never had a worry in their minds. They never thought, oh, well, this rocket that we're about to take off on to get back, we have to dock with the lunar module. We have to then blast off back to Earth. They just had no worries in their brains. They just were having a good old time, laughing, falling down, jumping around with no cares in the world. It seems to me like nothing more than a Hollywood production. Thank you very much, Free Flow, for the super chat. Second one of the show. Hey, appreciate that. But go ahead.
I've watched over and over and over again all of the footage from everything, really. Like I haven't watched Mercury as much, but I've watched Gemini a bunch.
Right.
And the Apollo stuff I've watched over and over and over again. And there's too many mistakes.
Right.
I mean, that's just the bottom line of it. You know, even if it totally turns out that we're wrong, that everything is exactly as far as the modeling is concerned, even if that turned out to be like, sorry, we were wrong, okay. But whatever they're showing us is still nonsense.
Right, and it's completely changed as to what they put across. You have to remember when Wernher von Braun was talking about everything that they were going to do. Remember they had the rotating space station that would create its own gravity.
Yep.
And, I mean, they had all these notions, and those things never came to be. Now we get the ISS, which is is nothing, not even close.
Well, I think that's what Kubrick used for 2001: Space Odyssey. It was kind of a takeoff of that idea.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost identical to what he used.
Yeah.
So again,
but the notion was also the man. I'm sorry, we seem to have a bad lag here, so I'm sorry if I'm talking over you.
No, I don't know why.
But the thing is that the way that they were originally trying to do it was very, very different than just landing two people there and getting them back, and they bring some rocks like that. That is basically what Apollo's mission was. Hey, we did it! Look. The original intention that von Braun was going with was like this great big grandiose thing, and saying that it wouldn't be possible without X amount of fuel and like all this crazy stuff that would probably ever be affordable ever. I mean, I just don't see it ever being realistic, because I looked through all that stuff. I also looked through a bunch of white papers that had come out earlier that were from the late 50s, I think maybe 1958, where they were really trying, and this is great. If you've never seen this stuff, Jeran, this is great. There's this group of papers, and I'm blanking on the names of them, and I'll see if I can find it for you, where they were talking about having moon bases and what they were going to do and all these things. And this is before the announcement of Apollo or anything, and they had all this money figured out, like how much it was going to take to do what. And maybe this is what von Braun was contributing to. But when you look at it now, again, even if the mainstream model is real, which I don't think it is, it's laughable. Like these guys just thought it was going to be so easy. Oh yeah, we just do this, and then we can just start building bases. Then we can take that and go to here, and from here we can go. It's like, are you serious?
Right. And this is what they put out there in front of children, and that's what I think got them in deep, is that they started talking about when man goes to the moon, or when man does this, and when man ventures out to the stars, and all of a sudden, if they ever realized they wouldn't be able to do it, they would have really had no choice but to fake it. They had gone too deep. And I'm not saying, I don't know where you stand. I still question it myself, whether or not I believe that they ever thought they could actually go to the moon. If at some point they did, or did they know all along that this was impossible and they just did it to make money? Or at some point, did they ever believe it? I think JFK believed it. I think he thought we could go based on his, I mean, he had no science background. He's kind of like Elon Musk in that.
Yeah.
no technical expertise in that at all. He was just kind of basing it off everything he had heard. And again, is this one of the reasons that he was taken out? Who knows? Just days before he died, he said, let's go to the moon with Russia. Let's do this as a co-op thing. Let's help each other. Let's get there together. And last long after that.
Yeah, he was reaching out to Khrushchev saying, let's do joint efforts and all things like that, almost trying to buck the New World Order system, for lack of a better term, of trying to make peace in a time when that's the exact opposite of what they wanted.
Right.
So you got to wonder, right, you don't know did JFK really die then? I know Crow doesn't think so. I'm just ambiguous about them. Like, well, I could see why he would be killed, and I could see why they'd fake it. I could see both sides. Yeah, and without super solid proof, a lot of these things, it's kind of like arguing over the logistics of 9/11.
Right. I agree with that.
I don't freaking know. I don't think the mainstream report, I think it's total horse shit, Yeah,
and you have to look at the fact that anytime liars are telling me something, then I think I'm the idiot for believing it, right? And so you have these guys who tell you about JFK, and then the video doesn't come out for 11 years after, and then the video clearly is cut and spliced, and they may have not known back then that we would have the ability to go and look at things carefully, slow them down, look at them in detail, compare them to other footage, and then realize, hey, there's scenes of this that have been cut. This is not real footage. Now, again, that could just be as simple as they had this story of the magic bullet. Of course, it came from the 6th floor observatory. It came from behind him, when the video clearly shows that not to be the case. Again, is it because the whole thing was a construct, the whole thing was edited, and the whole thing is fake, or did he actually die that day? Who knows? Again, we could argue over that all day, and I agree with you about the 9/11 logistics. Sometimes I think that these things are put out there so that people do argue. Because if you get caught in the argument of was there planes, wasn't there planes, was it holograms, was it space-based weaponry, then people lose sight of the true culprit in the whole thing and fail to realize that somebody above is lying to you on a massive, massive scale.
What I do is I try and look for the simplest explanation, and this doesn't mean I'm always right. But it will tend to be the more likely scenario. But I have no problem being wrong. Like at this point, after all the things we've seen and done and uncovered, nothing would surprise me anymore. If I saw Bigfoot walking around on the moon shaking hands with Magilla Gorilla, I'd be like, oh yeah. All right.
Makes sense.
It's just my God, the crap that we've seen and figured out, it's like whatever at this point. But that being said, and I know I'm kind of being flippant about it, the whole notion is I try and look at the simplest thing. According to all the mainstream paperwork, JFK wanted to pull out of Vietnam,
right?
Was trying to make nice with the commies, like all that kind of stuff that was going on. So maybe they did want to take him out. Maybe some faction did want to get rid of the guy.
Right.
I can see it. If I totally found out it was faked, I could see that too. It's just... Now, here's the important part, though. This is what I tell people all the time. What were the results of said event?
Right.
You're never going to prove 100% whether a particularly large event was real or faked and how it was done. You're probably never going to find those nuts and bolts. Doesn't matter. Pull back and look at, okay, and this is where social engineering comes into it. What was that event used for? What was that the catalyst for? Okay, whether John F. Kennedy died in 1963 or not, Lyndon Johnson came in, and what did they do? Massively increase the whole military-industrial complex engine to obliterate this one little country in a war that made absolutely no sense. And it wasn't even a war. This is something I bring up on Crow 777 radio all the time. The last real war, if folks don't know this, was declared in World War II. The United States never declared war after that. And I mean Korea, Vietnam, Desert, why can't I think tonight? Yeah, Desert Storms 1, 2, like any of these police actions. There was stuff in the 90s going on over in Kosovo, like all this stuff. No, these were not wars. These were just, I don't even know what you'd call them. I've heard the term police action, but it's more than that. And then they just kept voting it in Congress to keep going and going and going. I watched like this huge thing on Vietnam because I wanted to try and get some more details and see some real people talking about events and things like that, just to see what kind of social engineering I could pick out of it. And what I realized was when they were actually showing what they were doing over the course of 10 to 15 years, made no militaristic sense whatsoever. Like I'm watching this, I was like, are you kidding me? Why would you do these things?
Yeah, it seems to be like a boosting of the military-industrial complex just over and over again. And the more wars you have, the more money made for these companies and the more money that they are either given to these, politicians. And I think you're right about we have to look at what the outcome, because if the NWO, if you want to call them that, if they wanted a certain storyline, if they wanted a certain direction, then any president who stood up and opposed that would have to be taken out. That's just, and that would be, all you would need is one, and then every other president after that would pretty much know their role, right? Would do what they have to do, yeah.
I've always liked that Bill Hicks joke where he said every president after Kennedy gets taken in after the election. I don't know if you're familiar with this bit. And a screen goes down, and he's in this darkened room with guys smoking cigars, and he's shown a film of the JFK assassination from an angle never seen before. And they say, any questions? Just what my policies are going to be.
Yeah, it's all it would take. No, it's that easy. So I totally think that's the case. And then when you look at this whole idea of space being planted in the mind, and then you can just see different parts of it. I mean, I don't remember if it was you guys that talked about it. And I remember I always tell people, go to watch episode 39 and 40. of Croachable 7 Radio. It's hilarious because I don't even know my own show numbers. Like if somebody asked me, what show on Raw did you, and I'm like, it was somewhere between 50 and 75 or somewhere between. But if somebody asked me, what's a good show to watch on Croth? Oh, episode 39 and 40 where they talk about space. I need a Rose on my team. Ask Rose.
Oh my God. You have no idea how handy that is. She does great for us because she knows it. She knows. And it's funny. She knows the episodes better than we do because she transcribes them all, like every single one. She has transcribed every episode we've ever done. She knows my own words better than I do.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes we forget things we said. It's so funny. I was reading this article the other day, and this tells you how bad it gets. That I was reading this article that was, I don't know if you use OneNote, but it's kind of like a Microsoft thing where you can, save links, and I've got so much stuff in there, it's overwhelming, but it's kind of organized a little bit. It's not as good as Jeran Landucci's organization or something. But I'm reading this article, and I'm like reading it, and I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about this article. This would be great for me to read on my channel, just to read this article because it's so good. And I get to the very bottom of it, and I see what the title of it is, and I'm like, oh my goodness, a year ago I read this article on my channel. I read the whole article to myself and was like, this is really good. I should read this on my channel. And then I see the end, and it's called Cosmology Has Some Big Problems. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I think I have a video on my channel called Cosmology Has Some Big Problems. And sure enough, I do. It's a Scientific American article written by a PhD astrophysicist who basically says the problems that we're having with space. And there's so many good things in there. I mean, there's a quote by Pauline Barnby, I think her name is. She's a Canadian astronomer who's at the University of Ontario or Western Ontario. She has a master's degree from Harvard, but she has a very telling quote, and the quote goes something, I don't know the exact words of it, but she says something like, the biggest problem in astronomy that we have is that when we look at something in the sky, we don't know how far away it is. It's like, yeah, that's the problem with astronomy, you think? And this is from somebody who has a master's degree, from Harvard, basically telling the truth that we can make up things when you just have a telescope and you're looking out into the sky. It doesn't quite work as well when you use a microscope and you're looking at a leaf, because we can look inside the leaf and you can tell people, okay, this is what's in the leaf, and we're looking deeper and deeper in it. But people know you can't make up distances. You can't say, well, I'm looking at these little specks of this leaf and they're actually light years inside. No. You're only looking at the leaf. The leaf is right in front of you. But when you're looking with a telescope into the sky, you can make up anything you want. You could say things are whatever distance you want. Just make it up. I mean, nobody can go out there and check. At least last time I checked, we only can put balloons up 120,000 feet. We're not going to be able to go to stars. I mean, I don't think you can go to the moon. I don't think the moon is a place you can go and land on. And again, once you realize that, if anybody's realized that, and I think even I've realized that, and I don't have the equipment to go up, but once people realize that, think of all the ways that you can make believe about the things in the sky. You could say anything you want. You can create Star Wars. You can create Star Trek. You can create aliens. You can create interstellar travel. You can create wormholes. You can bend space-time. You can create the fabric. Think of everything that you can do from that point on. It's kind of like Narnia, right? Once you have this closet and you say, by going through this closet, there's a whole new world there, then Narnia is an open book for you. You can say whatever you want about it. And people, at least in that story, know that the step through the wardrobe is now into a land of fantasy. The problem with people is I think they don't realize that the step into outer space is also a journey into fantasy.
Yeah. And you know what? If we really want to tear this apart, we can go all the way back to the World War II era and start just with the concept of the V-2 rockets. Mm-hmm. Post-World War II, all that gets taken over to the United States and to the Soviet Union, and it starts from there. And here's the interesting thing that by the time we get around to the time of NASA coming about in the late 50s, obviously rocket technology has progressed. And I don't see any reason why rocket technology couldn't progress. There's no reason it couldn't work in an atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's what can you do with them after that. But here's the funny thing. There's announcements made and money being spent in the tens of millions right at the time of Mercury. And Gemini hasn't even happened yet. But they're already working on the stuff. And I checked the years. I checked all this stuff a couple of years ago when Crow and I did the Space Fraud series that you were mentioning. There's actually 6 episodes in a row we did of that. And they were already working on Apollo before they had Mercury functioning correctly. And Mercury barely got into what would be considered space. So how does that work? How do you design something to go to the moon when you can't even get a full craft into what's supposed to be low Earth orbit.
I don't think you can, but you can certainly make it up.
Well, this is where I really would love to find more to work with.
Right.
Going with what we are postulating as how the world is really structured, just how far up can you go? Is there a way we could figure that out? And that's what I really want to know. And from there, if we could get even like a rough estimate, from there we can start figuring out, so this is what could be accomplished with real technology. Everything after that is horsepucky.
Right. I place that line in my mind at like 100 miles. And that's just in my mind. Again, it doesn't mean I can get up that high. It doesn't mean that I know somebody who's been up that high. It just seems like kind of, I don't know. And there's a lot of people who even think it's less. I heard somebody the other day talking about, the depth of the Marianas Trench. And if you kind of look at that and say how far deep we can go, which is funny because the Marianas Trench is what? About 7-8 miles deep. Is that
something
right?
like yeah? Let me double check that.
Yeah, but then it's funny because that's as deep as they've ever dug. So if you're talking about on land and then they dig with these diamond-studded drills, the deepest they've ever gotten is 8 miles as well. And so I've heard people say, well, maybe it's 100,000 feet that we can get up.
Almost 7 miles, it says.
Almost 7 miles. Okay. So we know that balloons can go 20 miles. So obviously it's not equal. It's not like, we can go 20 miles up and 20 miles down. Obviously I've seen Dwayne Kellum's balloons get up to 120,000 feet. But have you seen any video of any balloon supposedly going higher than that? Or that's the limit of balloons?
No, that's it. And just by basic physics, it makes sense. 121,000-ish is always the rough number I see with the best quality balloons, because what's happening, of course, is that the atmosphere is getting thinner, 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 which I think that's probably easily acceptable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The balloons are expanding, and there's cameras. People who put cameras on it, you can see it happening. That they're slowly expanding till it can't take anymore and pop.
Right, and there's probably nothing you can make that would go any higher than that, I don't think. And by the way, thank you very much to Daniel Woodall for a 100-pound super chat. Wow, it's awesome. Keep up the good work. We will do so. Super appreciate that. It's probably the biggest donation I've ever seen on this channel, so thank you very much. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that there's got to be a certain limit. Now, how do we find that out? How do we know that limit? Because right now, we're just taking people's word for it, and that's what gets scary, is that these are the same guys who tell me that the moon landing was real. And I don't buy it. And I don't buy a lot of I don't buy the Van Allen belts. There's just a lot of things that I don't buy as have been told to me. And then I look at things like Sputnik and how that all got started. And really, don't you think that was just to initiate or to continue or perpetuate the idea of nuclear bombs and the scare that, well, now Russia can send something over our heads and drop a nuclear bomb any day? I mean, what better way to scare people and then teach all these children about getting under their desks and they have to be ready and all the fake footage that went with that? I think Sputnik had everything to do with that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as being a very strong likelihood, because the Sputnik 1, from what we've been shown, if that's accurate, was not very large. How the hell is anyone seeing it that claims to have seen it at the distance it's claimed to have been? You're going to see that with the naked eye, really. A thing slightly larger than a basketball.
Right. I was going to say, wasn't it like not very big? I mean, 10 feet or something?
It was not. It's just not even realistic.
No. I mean, it's just ridiculous that you'd be able to see it. Have people claimed that they saw with their naked eye?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's
now the doot that it did, people claim to pick that up, and I guess that could be faked if it had to be, right? That seems like something that could be transmitted with a long range FM transmitter, or excuse me, AM transmitter, I guess it would be at the time.
Especially if you can put a balloon up in the sky, which they clearly could do by 57.
Hell yeah, they had rockets by then, so yes.
Yeah, easily
absolutely
there and easily transmit a signal and everybody hears it. And again, people are always subject to what their preconceived beliefs are and their preconceived notions. And I talked a lot about that, or the article that I talked about, Cosmology Has Some Big Problems. And maybe I'll re-release that video because it is a great article I think people need to hear. But it's talking about that the entirety of space research, if you will, is all based on these foundations, that if they're faulty, then everything that they're telling, everything that they're saying, everything that they believe that their data shows them is incorrect, because it's all based on these foundational ideas of how far these things are and what they all transmit and what kind of energy these stars released. But again, we don't know those things to be true. I don't. Certainly not. No.
And they're always changing the structure of the universe anyway. Every decade or so, they come up with some new nonsense. What happened to the cosmological constant? Now it's dark matter and all this. I'm like, dark matter is just another labeling of something that you need to make up to fill in some math. It's a bullshit variable. I've been saying that for a long, long time. They change the number of dimensions that exist every so many years with all of that. It's like, so what is it? You have no fucking clue. Excuse me. Didn't mean to swear. But they don't know.
We'll be right back, guys. We'll take your calls. We'll talk about this a little bit more. We will be sitting off YouTube. We'll see you on TFRlive.com. Don't go anywhere.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to tell you that we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/signup and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR Live, your uncensored and unregulated protection from deception.
Remembering an NBA icon and his daughter. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A memorial service at the Staples Center in Los Angeles for Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna.
Vanessa Bryant told the crowd of her 13-year-old daughter's affection and her husband Kobe's love and patience as a father.
Babe, you take care of our Gigi.
Legends like Michael Jordan spoke, telling the crowd that Kobe was like a little brother.
You rarely see someone who's looking and trying to improve each and every day.
Shaq, who won 3 championships as a Laker with Kobe, added some levity to the memorial.
I'll look after things down here. I'll be sure to teach Natalia, Bianca, and Baby Capri all your moves, and I promise I will not teach them my free throw techniques.
He said while Mamba was taken too soon, they will turn their anguish and grief into healing.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal in L.A. Vanessa Bryant has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the helicopter company involved in the crash, saying the pilot was negligent for flying in foggy weather. Former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein headed to New York's Rikers Island after being found guilty today of rape and sexual assault. China reporting another 508 cases of coronavirus and another 71 deaths, most in the city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak. Federal health officials here in the U.S. keeping a close eye on it.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports a total of 53 confirmed cases in the U.S., which includes repatriated Americans from Wuhan and the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan. The location of quarantine sites for potentially infected evacuees is already an issue in several U.S. communities. At the urging of local officials in Alabama, federal lawmakers persuaded the Trump administration to scrap plans to house infected Diamond Princess passengers at a FEMA facility in Anniston.
Fox's Jonathan Seri at the CDC in Atlanta. America is listening to Fox News.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
On the weekday, don't be surprised, don't be surprised. Walk like us. They even talk like us. Walk like us. But they are not like us. On the weekday, you can see the signs, you can see the signs. They wear the disguise.
right, welcome back. Sorry about that. I left myself on mute, but we're back. Thanks so much for joining us. We do appreciate it as always, and thank you for hanging with us as we head over to DLive and TFRlive.com. And if you want to catch all these archives, the best way to do that is to sign up to be a member at TFRlive.com. If you are doing that, be so kind as to sign up through my link, as if you do that, I get half of your sign-up fee. But really, it's just a great place where you can keep the idea of free speech alive. That's the whole point of Truth Frequency Radio. I really appreciate Chris and Cherie for doing that and setting up such an awesome station where a lot of channels, a lot of people can have great shows, and it's all listener-funded. So thank you to everyone who's already done that. Really appreciate it. And again, you get all the archives from every show, all for a low price of, I think the minimum or the maximum is like $10 a month. But you can buy a year and get it even cheaper than that. So appreciate everybody who does that, but that's the best way to catch the archives. But again, the good thing is if you listen live, it's free. Every single week you can listen live on TFRlive.com. You can listen live on the Jeran Raw YouTube channel, at least the first hour, and then the second hour we are at DLive.tv, trying to get a little audience here. And Jason, you guys are on DLive now too, right?
Yes, we are. We have a Crow 777 Radio DLive.
Awesome. That's DLive.tv/Crow with 2 R's, CRR. OW777, and catch them there. And then you guys are doing the Secrets of Saturn as well on your channel, and then also are you still doing shows on Crow's channel as well?
Yeah, we have 3 shows a week now, actually. So we do the normal podcast, that's Crow 777 Radio. That's the one that we have the website for, crow777radio.com. Then Crow and I do a live stream together every Sunday from 6 to 7 EST. And then Wayne McCroy and I do a live stream together on my Secrets of Saturn channel from 9 to 11 EST every week, and we bring different people on.
Very cool. All right, great. And and the good thing about your time slot, which I like a lot, is that it's right after Globebusters. So we've been trying to send you guys some listeners. If anybody watches Globebusters, usually ends around 6 Eastern, so we just send people right over to the Secrets of Saturn and get your guys' weekly episodes. So you guys have been busy. I'm busy. If people know, I've got things going on almost every day now. Friday lounges. So we've got Sunday Globebusters, Monday Raw. We've got Thursday interviews. This coming Thursday, I think I'm going to have Iru Landucci on to do his Spanish presentation on my channel. But there's a lot of people coming up. I think Dr. John D. is going to be doing a show. I also think that plant-based comedian Josh Rosen, who does all the great impressions, wants to come on and get people excited about some of his political comedy, which is hilarious stuff. If you've ever heard him, he does great impressions of Barack and Trump and Bernie Sanders. He's a funny guy. I think he could use some more subscribers. So lots of stuff coming up on my channel. Keep your eyes and ears peeled, and you never know when something might pop up. So appreciate everybody watching as always. All right, so we don't have a lot of calls. We'll go on with our space fraud a little bit, and then we will take some. Go ahead.
Sorry. What I would like to do before we go on to that is address what social engineering propaganda was achieved with the concept of Sputnik.
Yeah, and I actually saw somebody in the chat who said Sputnik had nothing to do with nuclear bombs, and I don't think they understand. Go ahead. That's not
to be rude, but that's naive, because I've actually, in the mainstream record, it has been discussed how that worked. So the concept here is that the Soviet Union, the big bad guy of the 1950s and 60s, they had the capability to launch a rocket with a payload that would cross over the United States, that you could hear go beep, beep, beep.
Right.
Meaning, if they wanted to, they could also launch a weapon. And that's about as much as I can boil it down. It did indeed have the intended effect, whether something was there or not.
I agree, and that's pretty much on record. And I'm not saying that it was strapped with a nuclear weapon. I don't believe nukes exist. But what I was saying is the whole idea, because first, if you told somebody, they might launch it on a rocket, people might have known, well, rockets don't go that far. But all of a sudden, if you can put something that just goes beep, 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 and crosses your head every whatever it is that they want to say, depending on how high up they say it is, that would scare people, and it did scare people. People were, and that's on record, people were fearful of Russia. Here comes Big Daddy Russia, who's able to put this space satellite in the sky. Here, you can tune your radio to this particular station. You can hear it yourself. That's a very scary thing to people who think that maybe Russia's going to drop a nuke on us at any point.
Anybody who's in their maybe 60s or older now will probably be able to tell us how much that propaganda was pumped into the school systems at the time. Duck and cover. You know, if you grew up in the 50s and 60s, that crap was pushed over and over and over and over again.
Right. And hopefully those people see, I mean, this is what we've been talking about. Taking this info from liars is a bad move. And, you know, I know Crow always says that belief is the enemy of knowing. And I think that's so true when it comes to everything. But really it's true when it comes to something you can't check for yourself. And that's how I see space, is that if you have a belief in that, they're able to do so much with it. Like I said, it's an open book. It's an open slate. They're able to make up anything that they want about space. And they make up anything that they want about everything here that we can test and things that we can go and verify. So why wouldn't they do the same when it comes to space? To me, it seems like a foregone conclusion, really.
Well, we can look at it this way. What if they just wanted to launder a whole pile of money?
Right. It's an easy way to do it.
You know, that's just one aspect.
Right. And again, when you're talking about that kind of money, and again, I probably say this too much, and I'm sure many people think that, but when you realize the size of the space industry and it being bigger than the music industry, bigger than the video game industry, bigger than the movie industry and all of Hollywood and movies across the world, when all those things combined do not equal the space industry when you're talking money. So I always get people, why the lie? Why would they lie about it? Well, why tell lies in movies? Why sing to you? Why make albums? Why put out a CD? Why make video games? Why make apps? And I'm talking about apps on your phone. All that combined, added with music, added with movies, doesn't equal the space industry on a year-to-year basis. That's insane. That right there is a reason why you should say, oh, I see why they would lie, especially because it's just fantasy. It's just fantasy. So to me, it just seems quite simple. Let's see here. So, I mean, to me, it's obvious that space doesn't meet our expectations. And while some may say, oh, well, that doesn't mean that you can just discount it. Well, sometimes it does. I mean, when you really look at the way the world's going, how easy it is to get all these 4K cameras. I've heard people refer to it as Crow's, what is it? Crow's Law of
HD. Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, explain that to people because maybe they haven't heard it. I think it's nothing more true said.
Yeah, it's something so simple, and we had to make sure. That was one of the last things we put in the movie, by the way. We're like, hey, we got to get this in here because that's important. And right. I think it may have even been you mentioning it on a show a while back. I said, hey, Jeran just mentioned this. That was really cool of him. He's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, we need to put that in the film. He's like, yeah, we do. So Crow's Law of HD or high definition. Basically, this is what it boils down to. In today's age of technology, anything that could be filmed in HD or high definition will be filmed in high definition. We seem, however, to have a big gap in this logic, and that's any freaking space program.
Right.
They stick 1 to 4 megapixel dipshit cameras on satellites that cost tens of millions of dollars. And are you seriously trying to tell me that in this day and age, they can't launch something better? And that's basically what it comes down to.
Supposedly thousands of satellites up there. They're launching them now on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And no matter what they put up there, the last thing that anybody's ever considered is putting a HD camera on there. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. And it doesn't matter what country we're talking about either, whether it's Japan, China with their Chang'e 3 moon lander, the JAXA with their moon landings. All these things are always missing one particular element. And it's the HD footage. Why would that be? Think of how easy it is and cheap it is to get these cameras now. I mean, everyday people are putting cameras like GoPros and things like that on balloons and sending them to space. And these people aren't even sure that their cameras are going to come back. Well, they certainly don't have a $60 million budget a day. I keep saying that, and it's like you have to remind people it's a day, because when you think $60 million a year, like, yeah, maybe that's it's a day. You have $60 million a day. That is insanity to think that you're going to launch all these things and you're just not going to put any cameras on them. And it happens over and over again. And if people watched the Friday Lounge a couple weeks ago, I showed you how we went to Kickstarter and we looked up different space-based projects, and it seems like they all never come to fruition. And when you look across the board at Google Lunar X Prize, and you can look at one after another, all these space-based initiatives, all these ideas, they just never come to fruition. Why is that? Why do they never amount to anything? I think that it's quite telling.
You know what's obnoxious to think about, Jeran, is that during what's supposed to be the Apollo missions, they took what would have been the equivalent of HD cameras to the moon.
Right.
Like, that's what they're supposed to have had. They had television cameras, they had film cameras, and they had Hasselblads. Hasselblad makes some of the best cameras ever.
Right.
So they did it for this, what we all know is a make-believe mission. But once things start getting a little more real and today kind of concept, all of a sudden you can't put high-end digital technology on whatever we're talking about, a satellite, a rocket even. You can't send that up and take some serious footage. Here's another one that got me. Not too long ago, I saw a picture from the ISS where they had easily a dozen DSLRs shown in the picture.
Right.
Around the astronaut, one of which he was wearing, all with giant telephotos like I've seen Crow use, some bigger than that. Why the hell has no one, if this thing is truly up there, just pointed it out the freaking window? Can you imagine the shots you can get? If I was up there, if this thing was real, I'd be like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I want to take pictures and share them with people.
Not to mention everything else you could do with the stars and all the pictures you could take. I mean, it would just be unbelievable. And again, in all the videos I've seen, yeah, you can see video of these astronauts floating around inside the space station. I don't know why none of them can just go over and show a night vision of the Earth. They never will go to the window and just show you the night view of the Earth. They won't even show the day view of the Earth, let alone the night view. It should cause you to question things. It really should. And then when you look, and we'll kind of get to the end of what we were talking about, but this whole idea, this whole image of space has been planted in your mind. And once you accept that and realize that, then you're going to start looking for proof of it. And that's step one. Once you realize, wait a second, these guys do make a little bit of sense. It does seem like this is a whole social engineering kind of construct. And I want to find some proof for myself that they're up there. Go ahead and start looking. That's where you'll run into problems and you'll start thinking, wait a second, why isn't it? Now, you can take one of two paths. You can either take the path where you start calling it out for what it is, saying that you don't think it's real, challenging them to do things that would at least convince you a little bit more that it's even close to being real and not getting any of those results. Or you can take the position of, well, I'm too afraid to even take that step, and therefore whatever they present to me is enough proof. It's all I need. And that's what a lot of Globe believers, a lot of NASA fanboys, they've taken that step where now they just don't question it anymore. And all their arguments are all based on everything else except for backing NASA. They don't even like to do that anymore. Why? Because NASA keeps coming out with some nonsense, or they're 1 out of 4,000 applicant astronauts like Don Pettit sounding like he got kicked by a donkey in the head and saying, well, I'd go to space in a nanosecond, but we lost the technology. And again, you can either buy that or you can call it out for what it is, complete and total nonsense.
It's not hard to believe. You know what? I always try and take the path of least resistance, as I said. Okay, I can buy that stuff that was made in the 60s wouldn't work in a modern environment to reproduce. I can kind of grasp that. What I cannot grasp is that you wouldn't, in any way, shape, or form, hang on to certain aspects of data that was a mission performed that no one had done before, no one had done since, that would be invaluable. It would be impossible to get data like would have been collected if indeed the Apollo missions were real. Like, I can understand that you didn't want to build any more Saturn V's and things like that, and eventually the dies to cast thing, like, okay, fine, because it was a super complicated device. I'm not totally buying it, but I mean, all right, I can let that one go. It's the data. The data was invaluable beyond all belief, and that's gone too, and that's where I'm like, bullshit.
Right. All right, let me put the phone number on the screen. If you guys got any comments about that, call the show, 213-233-3998. Let's see if we've got any calls. We got a few. 858, you're on with Jeran Monday Night Raw, and Jason Lingren, what's up? What can we do for you? That's the way to do it.
858?
There we go, 858, what's up?
Hey, Mike in North Phoenix, a.k.a. Actual Mana Bear. Regarding space, I had two quick comments to tell you. One is regarding space. I grew up in rural Michigan, and it was rather common for a lot of us there growing up and looking into the starry skies to see UFOs, and culminating one time in the morning waiting for the bus. And about 8 or 9 of us out there. I was about 14 years old, and we saw a cigar-shaped craft flying over the tree line about 500 yards in the distance, and we watched it for about 5 minutes until the school bus showed up, and we hopped on and started screaming and shouting to the bus driver, who quickly said, "Don't." She never even looked at it. She said, "It's just an airplane. Don't worry about it." And so I would like to get your guys' ideas on what might be putzing around the skies, and then just hear what you have to say about that, and then got another quick comment.
Yeah, I've got a quick question for you on that. You said it was daytime. I'm taking it.
It was. We were waiting in the morning, probably about 7-ish in the morning.
And then you said you watched it for 5 minutes. So I take it this wasn't going from like horizon to horizon. This was it darting all over the place? Was it? You have to tell me.
No, it was very slow moving, and it was moving from the west to the east, and it was slow moving, and it was very close to the tree line. It was really just above the tree line, and it was very large for the distance that it was away from us, for it to be the size it was that we were looking at it.
Couldn't have been a blimp?
It was pretty remarkable. Not at all.
Okay. No, I'm just trying
Yeah.
Jason, you have any questions for him about that sighting? And I've heard a lot of people say that they've seen, Bob from Globebusters said that he's seen UFOs. I just am under the assumption or the belief that anything that we're seeing is terrestrial based. I just can't bring myself.
Me too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just can't bring myself to think that we've got crafts from beings that, or these beings that can travel between stars, get here, and then crash in New Mexico. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. The other storyline is that they've contacted the government. I mean, come on. If these beings are so highly intelligent and so highly advanced that they were able to travel here from another star, believe me, I think the whole world would know it right away. I don't think it would just fly
right on. I mean, we all thought we saw something that came from space. Now I'm confident I saw something that was either from outside of Antarctica or from the underworld.
That's an interesting. Because I do think that that's possible too. Is it something terrestrial from outer lands, and they could come over, and then it doesn't bother. It doesn't not bother me. It wouldn't be out of my realm of possibilities that there is outer lands and that they are a little bit more advanced than us. By a little bit, I mean hundreds of years, maybe 1,000 years. Who knows? If you want to believe, and then those people will be traveling here and then heading back, and may not contact us, because why would they want to let us know that they're even over there? But go ahead, Jason. You have any questions about it?
Well, my thoughts on it, and this has been the same for a long time. Wayne McCroy and I have discussed this a lot. It's electromagnetic, or what sometimes is called electrogravitic propulsion. I have no doubt that those kinds of craft have been worked on for decades. I think that's what you see. I've had my own UFO experiences, and it's always similar, the way they kind of move, in that it's obvious not a jet engine kind of way. I think it's electromagnetics of some degree, because people have performed these kinds of tests and made them work in tiny little labs and things. So you think people with billions of dollars couldn't come up with some kind of propulsion system based off of electromagnetics?
And Germany was doing that with the whole Bell idea and everything as well.
Yeah, there was something with that, and they've had things like electromagnetic trains that have been functioning for a long time. Like, this stuff exists.
Right.
It's just it's the whole petroleum. I mean, we could get into a whole thing just on this. The whole petroleum empire. They want to keep us using technology that's 100+ years old for control, and that's basically what it comes down to.
Well, we've talked about that. I mean, if there was free energy or these anti-gravitic, electrogravitic devices, then people could get up and travel wherever they want and go wherever they want, and just get in a craft and say, let's head south and see if there really is an ice wall. Let's go and see if Antarctica really can be traversed deep inside of it. We could do those things easily if we have that. If you don't have that and you only have petroleum-based power, then you can't, especially when they've got some law that says you can't go below the 60 degrees with any extra fuel. They've essentially from doing any kind of expedition at all.
Right. No, I've always said that the energy thing is what would change everything. If electricity was free or near free, it's kind of like the Star Trek idea, like the old Star Trek concept, like almost like a benevolent socialism is what I've always called it. Maybe that's not the right term, but it's just what I came up with. And it's the concept that since nothing really costs anything to make, you can kind of do whatever you want.
Right.
As long as you're not hurting anybody else, because you don't have to struggle to survive, because all the technology is run off of something that costs next to nothing to produce. So it's not dog eat dog world anymore, kind of a thing.
And that'd be the worst thing ever for the people in control of this place, the people who make money off of everything that you want to do. If you want to do anything, you need energy. If you need energy, you need to purchase it. And what better way than to be in control and to own those energy factories and everything else that people need? It certainly seems like a great way to keep people down. And again, everything that we see is all about control. It's been like that from day one. So,
nothing's going to convince me that in 2020 you need to burn a petroleum product in a gas tank and get 30 miles per gallon on average to go anywhere. I call poppycock.
I would agree.
Right on.
Okay,
hey, I got Jason. Where would I send a raw file? I took a couple pictures of a cloaked craft moving through the sky, blowing like a dark mist behind it with a what we would think would be like a passenger airplane blowing a very large white cloud behind that, probably about 1,000 feet behind the cloaked craft. And I took a couple pictures of it, and I didn't know what I was looking at until I realized what it was, and then I wished I had taken a video. But then I realized that my Samsung phone has it takes like 3-second photos, so I could go back and I could look at that picture, and you can see, there's something in front of it moving the clouds and a dark mist coming out, and you can see the plane coming behind it. How would I email that to you so that you could dissect that and see what I saw?
Yeah, no problem at all. Send it to secretsofsaturn@gmail.com. Anyone is welcome to submit stuff to me there. People have been doing that a lot lately, actually. Sometimes it's Crow sharing stuff with Rose and myself, or us with him. And if there's something worth mentioning, like, oh yeah, we see something cool here, then we usually discuss it on one of the shows.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. And then real quick and kind of funny, my wife told me 13 years ago the Earth is flat and that we don't live on a spinning ball. And I quickly told her my fantastic education in the United States and that she was wrong. And now she constantly makes fun of me about it.
Wow. What made her say that back then? I'd be interested in hearing that story. I mean, so that was, you said 15 years ago or 13 years ago?
She just wanted to tell me because I've been fascinated with space and was a NASA fanboy my whole life. And she thought she would tell me one day, and then I kind of poked fun of her, and she just let it go. But for her, for women, for whatever reason, it was just no big deal to her, and she stayed quiet about it all these years, and now she just
now she has the upper hand.
She makes fun about it. She does constantly. Yeah,
she's like, "Told you."
Told you. I appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, and I think everybody has some sort of UFO story. I mean, even myself. But like I said, what I think I see is always something terrestrial. I just don't think that beings from other planets or other star systems are coming here and checking us out. I just don't think it's something that they would do. But again, who knows? Maybe they would. Let's see here. How much time do we have left before the break? Not much time. Anything to say before we go to break here, Jason?
Well, I can tell you that I've had 2 very major UFO experiences. And looking back now, I'm just like, what did I see? I don't know. They definitely moved again in that kind of, we're not using jet engines kind of way, but I have no answers. It's just I saw something. And the second one, when I was 17, was very significant. A bunch of military planes, like normal jets, came and chased them away. So I don't know what to make of that, and I can't prove it, so I don't like to say it a lot. I mean, I kind of don't care anymore at this point. I think I have a decent reputation, and it's like, hey, I saw this. I can't prove it to you. There's no way I possibly can prove it to you. But for me, it was interesting, and it's another one of those things filed in my brain that I draw on when I look at other stuff.
Well, I certainly think it's interesting, and you do have a good reputation, stellar reputation, to at least the point where I would say there's no way Jason's lying to me about this. I mean,
well, it would benefit me.
Right, exactly. No, and I just don't see it being a possibility. So that's just me. I find a lot of hosts like that eventually are content creators where I just recognize their honesty. It's just like Crow. I mean, the show you guys did the other day where you admitted the Mars mistake. I mean, those things are so important to me to see channels do, where you come out and you say, oh, I think this is Mars behind the moon. I look at it and say, I'm not sure, maybe not. The last thing you expect is to see a video of a couple days later saying, oops, we effed up on this one.
Oh, yeah. I was driving at the time, and he called me. He's like, hey, I made a mistake, and I need to fix this. We need to go do a live stream now. I was like, well, you need to give me an hour and a half because I'm not near home. But sure, we did it that night. But that's it. We try so hard. I mean, we're people, and this is something. I know, like, a cult of celebrity gets built up around a lot of us that do a lot of work, but it's like, hey, we're people. We can screw up too. Right. If you do, just be like, I made a mistake. And it was a stupid, simple mistake Crow made too, just looking at something wrong in Stellarium and just didn't realize it.
Right. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to get the rest of your phone calls. Give us a call, 213-233-3998. We'll be right back with Jeff the Monday Night Raw.
Use your tools, they said.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder of Truth Frequency Radio and host of Beyond the Veil. The mainstream media and establishment are running scared right now, and they've prominently featured TruthFrequencyRadio.com as number 89 on the federal government's hit list, also known as the fake news list, which is essentially a list of sites slated for censorship on Facebook, YouTube, Google, and other social media. Now is the time for you to get involved. Share your favorite TFR shows far and wide on forums and social media. Tell your friends and family about your favorite shows. If you're a business owner, get in touch with us to feature your product or service right here on TFR. And if you haven't done so already, become a TFR supporter now and get unlimited commercial-free downloads in high quality. Visit truthfrequencyradio.com/sign-up. Thank you for making TFR the leader in independent and uncensored talk radio. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you have hard water, the Live Scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate Lime Scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
He was the deputy director of MI6. Britain's most senior diplomat. He was knighted by the Queen and in charge of thousands of highly trained spies. But he was also a member of the Paedophile Information Exchange. He had 45 diaries full of sex fantasies with children. His friend was the private secretary of Margaret Thatcher. He strangled a child and hit another with his car. He raped young boys and organized orgies with children for other politicians.
The Enigma Channel, intelligent television for planet Earth. EnigmaTV.com.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
All right, welcome back. This is Jeran DITRH RAW. Thank you so much for joining us. We got one more half hour to go with your phone calls. Support the show if you like the show. I put that on the top of the screen. Venmo at Jeranism or patreon.com/Jeranism. And support Jason Lingren. Support Crow. Check out their movie, Shoot the Moon. You can find that on Vimeo on demand, correct, Jason?
Yep, it's let me give you the exact one. It's vimeo.com/on-demand /shoot the moon. And we're going to leave that up to rent. And once all of the film festival stuff is out of the way, which should be later this year, we will get around to making hard copies and selling them because a lot of people have asked. So very DVDs cool. And or Blu-rays.
And then also become a member over at Crow 777 Radio with 2 R's, and you get the hour 2 of the podcast, which is awesome, very enlightening, and they do some of the best shows that there are if you're searching for truth. If you are, then you got to start with Crow 777 Radio. So thank you so much. And appreciate you always being on here whenever we want you, need you, and it'd be great that you join me next week for a 200th episode. Dave will still be on vacation, but it'll be fun. We'll just take calls, kind of kick back, enjoy some celebratory nature, and just kind of celebrate 200 shows, which may not seem a lot for some people. I don't know. It is kind of a milestone for me. That's like 4 years, and that doesn't count any time that we didn't have a show or we took a week off. That is 200 actual episodes that you can still find all in the archives at tfrlive.com. Let's go to 267. You're on with Jeran DITRH Monday Raw. Jason, what's up? 267. Hold on. I see you on here twice. Why is that? Let's try the other one. 27.
Hello?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Oh, sorry. I'm not too good with this cell phone, but yeah, I just wanted to let you know the last couple of days I've been since you aired your demonstration of the Space Crack magazine, I've been calling the ballers space crackers. I was just wondering what you thought of that.
Yeah, I thought that I really like that name, Space Crack. It's funny because I think, I don't like to too much. Space crackers. Yeah, it's like I also think I started the whole term of NASA fanboys, but not sure other people use that now. But I think space crackers is good. That's pretty good. But it certainly seems like they're on some drug, and what better way to describe it than space crack? They love it, they want more of it, and they keep smoking it.
Yeah, and while I was on hold, I just thought you might be interested to know I was watching some old clips of a show from September 27th, 1962, called I've Got a Secret. I don't know if you're familiar with that old show. Yeah. But anyway, they had Armstrong's parents on there. And that date, 9/27/62, was the day that they said that 3 p.m. that afternoon, he was officially named an astronaut. And like Bob always says, I almost fell out of my chair because the host asked them how they would feel if their son became the first man on the moon, and that was 7 years before time.
Wait a second. That wasn't even announced yet.
No, it wasn't. Not by
I know. Not by Kennedy, right?
No.
Well, anyway, I could.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. Without a laptop, I can't break it down for you, but I could email you the whole. Just share the show, and you could search. Just run through it and check it for yourself. But I mean, talk about predictive programming. That just knocked me out. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. No. Yeah. Can you email Jason and I both? You can just email me at Jeranism@Yahoo. And Jason at secretsofsaturn@gmail. But yeah, I think wasn't it supposed to be Grissom, White, and Chaffee who were first on the moon? Yes. Certainly wasn't. Yeah, certainly wasn't.
But not announced yet in '62.
I'm definitely going to send it to you. Definitely send it to you because I mean you you ain't going to believe it.
Yeah, definitely.
That was in 1962.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It should have been called I Have a Giant Secret.
And we're going to keep a giant secret.
And our son will become a recluse as soon as he has a secret, too. All right. Well, thanks. Anything else to say?
Oh, all that was running through my head, yeah. Okay, well, have a nice night, and good to see Jason back on. Guess we'll miss Dave for a couple weeks. Have a good one, fellas.
Take it easy.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right, good call. Let's go to 530. You're on with Jeran Monday Night Raw. I believe this is my friend in California. What's up?
You are correct, Jeran. What's going on?
How are you?
I'm great. Just had some trouble like the other guy. Had to call back a few times. Hold on, I just got done with a set of bench press.
All right.
I'm at the gym.
Get your bulk on. That's fine.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to replace my fat bulk with muscle bulk.
I got to do the same thing.
I'm not totally familiar with your guest, but I did catch the theme. And as you may or may not remember, that I was actually in Space Command for the last part of my Air Force career. Yeah, I just often wondered. I don't know. I'm a little miscombobulated right now. I'm out of breath.
It's all right. Well, I want to ask you a question about being in Space Command. What was the general belief or idea about UFOs amongst people you worked with?
Oh, awesome. So we talked about it quite a bit, actually. You think about it, we're out on a base of 100,000 acres. And, no one ever did come and steal our birds, our planes, or our buildings, or our space launch complexes, and it never happened. So we had plenty of time to talk.
Right.
And, we would talk about that. And basically, that space, if you remember Contact, I brought that up a lot, that it'd be an awfully big waste of space and not have other life. And, of course, back then I knew nothing about the Bible.
Right.
So, I watched rockets go up. We used to have to clear the whole area, but we'd have to fall back so far that, I had no advantage over the civilian. I was just as far as they were and was so far away. I'd need binoculars just to even make out if anything was going on.
And how far was that?
Did they arc?
Oh, yeah. So the arc, so that video I sent you, Jeran, about the one guy that says, how do you get over the fear? It's like walking through a cobweb. You just got to walk through a cobweb over and over until you get over the fear. So I guess to be an astronaut, you just got to walk through cobwebs, which I thought was funny. I know I'm taking a leap of inductive reasoning, but still, that's what they said. And they say that it goes up slow at first because of the density of the atmosphere. But what about the jets that go Mach 2? Because I actually had an incentive flight in an F-16, and we were hitting 300 miles an hour before we lifted off the ground, and then we banked up and was going, and that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then that argument loses water. So I don't know. I just know we watched plenty launches. We were so far away, and it would be up, moving away. And before you know it, it was literally going horizontal. But, I just never thought about it, really.
Right. No, I can see.
I do now.
Now you do. Now you wish you knew what you knew now back then, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but it's all in good timing. I mean, it was hard enough time learning as I did now at this age, being mature. Heck, if I'd have known that way back then, I might have been stupid and crazy, and who knows, they might have locked me up. I don't know.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, that's why, sometimes it's safe not to take it too far. But no, I mean, it's okay to have an open mind and definitely look at all things, because it certainly seems like what we're being told, what we're being sold, what we're being conditioned to believe isn't the case at all. In which case, then it is open for interpretation sometimes.
There's a lot of things I could talk. I mean, I just don't feel comfortable talking about some of the things I really want to talk about over open airwaves.
Right.
Because of, I don't know if I signed something. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. But
right.
I do have a friend out there who was an ex-firefighter, Jake. I met him on that friend finder for the Flat Earth thing. Mm-hmm. And then and he said the same thing. He used to watch the launches as well, because he was in the small town outside of Vandenberg called Lompoc. So I'm going to give a shout out to him. And just a shout out to Bob Nodell. I forgot he was not only a fellow Christian, but he's a fellow Air Force veteran. So we've kind of been touching base on Facebook Messenger, and that's been kind of cool. So just shout out to him and Karen if she's listening. And I'm going to head back to the gym.
All right. Enjoy that. Lose a few pounds and lose a few for me if you could while you're there. All right.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. No, I've been eating healthier, but I still eat too damn much. Got to stop doing that. God, food's so good. That's just the only thing I can say. 970, you're on with Jeran DITRH RAW. Who's this?
This is Brian in Colorado from Brad Todd there in the chat.
What's up, Brian?
I was just, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
Cool. I kind of had a different UFO story that I haven't really heard anybody talk about.
Sure, tell us. I'd love to hear.
About 10 years ago, I was at a gas station about 10 years ago, and the fellow next to me just poked on my arm and pointed up in the sky and asked what this was, and it looked like a kind of like a ball of like mercury or something, like a metal glob, and it was kind of liquidy like looking, and it wasn't very high up, and it was moving really slow. And I had a crappy camera back then, so I did take a picture, but it was so small I couldn't even tell what it was, and just curious if anybody else has ever heard of anything like that or seen anything like that.
Did it look to be inflamed at all, or it was just like a sphere of mercury?
Kind of like a sphere of mercury, but it was like a glob, kind of like it was like moving a lot, and like kind of looked like a drop of water, but like a metal drop of water in the sky. It was.
Here's the crazy thing. That's my one UFO experience is the exact same, only mine almost looked like it was the sphere of mercury thing sounds close, and then there was like it almost looked like it was inflamed. I don't know how to explain it any other way, but it looked like there was kind of flames around it, and it was moving very slow across the sky. And I was outside, I was doing the trash, and I stopped and was looking at it and was like, oh my goodness, what is that? And I was kind of looking around, seeing if anybody else could see it. It was moving very slow. I stood there and watched it for 30 or 45 seconds until it hit me like, I need to film this. What am I doing? So I ran inside the house, grabbed the camera, ran back out, and it was gone. And I was like, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe it. I was telling my wife, you're not going to believe this. You'll never believe what I just saw. And I was trying to explain it to her, and she's like, why didn't you get your camera? I said, that's what I'm in here doing. I came to get the camera, and it's gone. I was like,
we sat there. We sat there looking at it for so long that like I ended up just leaving. Like it was in the sky for so long. I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna go.
Just not gonna stand here and stare at it forever. That's very interesting. But I think a lot of people have a story, and there's nothing really that makes sense of what that could be, huh?
Yeah. No, that's cool that you've seen it too. I'm just curious if anybody else has. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, everything about me was trying to go through my head of what could this possibly be, and it just seemed, unless it was like a drone on fire, nothing really made any sense to me of what it could possibly be, and it was moving back and forth in different directions. I wouldn't say it was moving at breakneck speeds or anything. It just seemed to be hovering there doing I don't know what, and just eventually said, oh my goodness, this is so close. And I felt like it was really close. Like, when I say close, I mean...
Yeah, it was very close.
Yeah, close. Interesting. Great story, Brian. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks. Great show tonight. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy. 614, you're on with Jeran Monday. Who's this?
Hey.
Hey, what's
Hear
up?
me?
Very great.
Hey, guys. Adam from Columbus. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Adam?
Yeah, I have UFO experience, too. I've spent some time up north, very close to the Arctic Circle, doing a couple long-distance canoe trips, and nothing too close to the ground, but a lot of things moving, up high. And I've always, I was big into space too, back in the day. And so the more I've thought about it now, I really like I think the extra land makes sense to me. That possibly these are craft coming from somewhere else that we don't know about. My question with that is, I wonder how confident we are that Antarctica is all ice. The whole shelf around is all ice. We're told that, and we see pictures of large shelves of ice, and people can go like the girl. Actually, the girl is involved. The girl that did the hike from one spot down to the, so-called South Pole and then back to the same spot for some reason. She's involved with a camp that I'm associated with, and she came and spoke, and I talked to her. This was like right before I found all this stuff out, which was very unfortunate. But I just wonder how much possibly of the could there be just regular land like some of those old maps? That's not all ice.
I certainly
out there.
The whole fuel issue would be reason why we can't get that far in, right? If you need fuel, you're just you're not going to get very far in. And again, nobody wants to even try because of everything we've been taught, right? Even if somebody asked me, Jeran, you want to go to Antarctica and just trek towards the middle? I'm not going to want to do that because of what I've been taught. I'm going to be scared for my life. Like, no, we're not going to have enough food. We're not going to have enough power. We're not going to be able to get very far. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. I mean, everything that they've told me tells me I need to stay away from that spot. Does it mean that I need to stay away from that spot? No,
right, exactly. I think that's totally it. The fuel thing, huge. That's a huge part of it. And so to me, it makes sense that, possibly we could just fly on out to some big old islands out there.
And if you think about that too, if there's a craft like that that's hovering around somewhere, also wouldn't it make sense that the military wouldn't want to take it out? Because if they did shoot it down or something and this craft landed and people realize, wait a second, this is a craft with anti-gravitic kind of technology, then it would start to lead people to believe, wait a second, this could have been coming from outside on the earth somewhere. This could have been coming from somewhere who has just 100 or 200 years further technology. And all of a sudden there's going to be a lot of questions, especially if there's not little alien beings inside.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Yep. That's it for me. Thanks.
Doesn't that make sense, Jason? That it would make
all right, see you guys.
That thing.
It's social engineering,
right? You don't want to send people. If there's all of a sudden people in there that you shoot down that, and they're like, wait a second, how did these humans have this kind of technology? It's going to make people think maybe there is outer lands. Maybe we can go further. And those kind of people, maybe they would come check out what's going on over here. These people are still, years behind us. We'll just head back. And again, if they've got free energy, well, they can be flying all over the place wherever they want. So,
the aliens or people from somewhere else.
Right.
It's an interesting concept, but here's the thing. They must think very little of us or want to leave the control system in place, or else they would be showing up to, I don't necessarily want to say random people, but maybe people who actually have a brain that works and be like, by the way, this is what is real and what's not. But you don't hear of this happening.
No, you didn't. And no, never. And that's a very interesting point too. You would think that if they can't get here, wouldn't one of them want to land and say, "Hey, here's what's going on. You've been lied to." You would think that they would want to free people from the control, right? Especially if they saw it. Wouldn't they be like, "Okay, these people are definitely being held down, held back"? I like the book Iron. I want to call it Iron Realm Media. Iron Republic, and I kind of understood their theory when they got to that new continent and they were asking, well, why have you never come tell us? They said, well, what benefit is there to us to bring new technology to you when you have nothing really to offer us? I mean, that was kind of the way that they played it in the book, which I thought was interesting. So let's see here.
It's something to consider.
We had a couple more calls, but now we're down to just one. I think this is a call. You're on with Jeran DITRH Monday Night Raw. You got no phone number. Who's this? I see your little red bar. You are talking. Hello. Blocked phone number. Yes, you. You're on. Okay, you're not on. All right. Well, it looks like all the phone calls. So if you want to get in for a quick final minute, 213-233-3998. There is nobody on the line. So, Jason, I guess you can just kind of, summarize your opinion of this social construct and this social engineering of the idea of space in people's mind, why you think they're doing it.
Control. I think that's what it comes down to. It's the easiest answer in the world. If you and they're doing it too. That they're, again, this comes down to the whole petroleum thing.
Right.
Do you really think that there isn't technology that could be mass produced in the year 2020 that couldn't be better than petroleum-driven internal combustion engines? Come on. It's all about control. And then the entertainment business is all about keeping the programming in the minds awake and well, except now that they're doing even worse crap to us. Now they're pounding full of agendas that divides everyone and keeps them all fighting. I mean, it's a mess.
And when you've created the world that you've created and you're in charge of it, then you have enough money that anytime somebody does come out with something, you can just offer them enough money to keep quiet. And believe me, people are going to probably adhere to that. If you come out, I mean, this has happened so many times where this new technology's come out and then the person is either silenced, taken out, or paid off. Or they, treat you like they did Tesla and steal your paperwork and get rid of you.
I think one of the big problems that probably occurs is that people go for patents, and that's a government organization. Like, let's say I invented a reasonably sized, easily constructible with off-the-shelf parts electric generator, something that could, whatever technology you want to call it, free energy, whatever, cold fusion, doesn't matter. You invented something that could be built for a couple of $100 from Home Depot.
Right.
And then you go to the patent office.
Right.
Who the hell sees that?
Right. Now, quickly,
dummies, It's like, if you want to help humanity, if there's aliens or there's other civilizations, if I was one of them and I wanted to help humanity, not saying I would, because who knows what my state of mind would be at that point, but if I wanted to help humanity, I would email the plans to every single person in the world and be like, okay, there you go, Merry Christmas.
Right, exactly. And everybody gets this email and they wake up like, what the hell? What's going on here? We all got this email. We have one more call that came in. Let me see if we can capture it. 304, or did you already call? No, I don't remember.
Wow. I did, but had to hang up, and then I called and rang one time, and now I'm talking to you. That's pretty funny.
Well, it's funny because I've seen... I do apologize to anybody that called in. I've seen tons of calls appear and then disappear and then go back to the bottom, and then they're up there for a little bit and then they disappear. So I don't know if there's a call board problem tonight, but if there was, I apologize. It certainly wasn't me.
There wasn't on my end. There wasn't on my end. I was tying up both lines on my phone. I need to clear one of them, so I gave you the boot, and I called back as soon as I got the other line cleared. But anyway,
all right.
If I could just get through my local radio station and win a dinner for two this fast, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Here's some tickets to Olive Garden.
Right. All right, thanks.
I've got...
Go ahead. Sorry, I unmuted you, but go ahead. You're back on.
Okay.
You're there.
I'll be super quick, and I had a bad Olive Garden experience, so I'll pick something else. But anyway, 7 steaks later, I finally said, okay, I'm done, and I left as they couldn't figure out how to cook one medium rare. But anyway, I was curious. I'd mentioned this to you before, Jeran, a couple of times over the past 6 to 9 months about the tsunami, the wave that keeps bouncing around like it's, you
always mention it to me.
somehow. And I was curious if there were any developments with that.
All right, appreciate the call. I got to let you go. We just got about 2 minutes left. But yeah, this guy calls in all the time and talks about tsunamis and whether they work on a globe Earth. And I see his point, and he's absolutely right. But the problem with it is that if you try and explain it to any glober, they will always go to the, well, nope, you're always on the top, and there is no, because the whole idea of a tsunami spreading out from one point, and how does it climb the globe? How does it climb? Again, they would just say it's not climbing. They would just rotate the frame of reference and say every time it's falling. And as far as your steak issue, I wouldn't order a steak at Olive Garden. Their specialty is probably Italian. But anyway, have you ever looked into tsunamis at all and whether you think that they would work under the current design?
Only a little bit, but I don't see why they wouldn't work. After all, most of these things, most weather systems and all that, really comes down to waves, really, just things being pushed through a system. Why couldn't that work?
Well, yeah, I think it'd be great on a flat Earth, but as far as the globe, it just gets into the whole idea of having to climb to the hump. Right. I mean, if you think of 2 people on the globe, in between them, there's a hump. And if you have a tsunami, say at the 3/4 mark, traveling in one direction, it would have to climb up that hump. But again, they would just rotate the globe and say, no, it's going down. Everything's falling away from you. The wave is falling away from you. Kind of, it's their way out of everything. There's no up and down in space. And even though I think it's ridiculous, people living upside down. Believe what you want, folks. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. It's been another fun show. We didn't get to one call. I do apologize for asking you to call in, but we've just got about 30 seconds left. Again, support the show if you like it. Follow me on dlive.tv/Jeranism. And, of course, on YouTube, my 2 channels, Jeranism Raw and Jeranism. Any final words for you, Jason, before we head out?
Well, thanks for having me. I look forward to next week, if indeed we're going to do that. And check us out at crow777radio.com. That's where we'll be.
Yeah, sounds fun. So next week we've got the 200th episode. Should be fun. We'll have some phone calls from you guys. Please call in. Please say congratulations. Please have some comment. It will be a fun show, I'm sure. Jason will be joining me. I think we're also going to have Bob from Globebusters on. And it should be a fun show, celebratory show. 200 is a little milestone. We still got more to go, though. Dave will be back, not for show 200, but for show 201, and we'll get rolling again. Again, look for this week the feature update for the app, and join me on Thursday for Eru. All right, guys, it's been fun. Until next week, huh? Peace.
Truth Frequency Radio is your